Don't you crazy kids try to tell me your voice isn't heard. Because your voice, everybody's, and man, this was everywhere yesterday, may have, not completely guaranteed, but may have saved all of those DOGE cuts. Yeah, I know. Usually, in any other given circumstance, talking about budget cuts and spending bills is pretty freaking boring. But this is probably the clearest indication yet, at least in my lifetime, paying attention to this stuff, that the people's voice actually was heard. Does it mean you're going to get everything you want or what I want? No. But what we do know is, boy, it made an impact. A big one yesterday. We'll talk about that, but it's not all going to be about swampy crap. How about poison-free Skittles? Actually, another example where the people's voice was finally heard, but this is a major step. And the takeaway on this is, still to this day, the FDA is saying what was in this stuff is A-okay. Does it make you trust the FDA? Maybe we shouldn't rely on the Food and Drug Administration too, or the food companies to tell us that the stuff in the food is okay. Maybe that's the lesson we should finally learn. And then, this is my favorite story of the day. Gen Z is lonely. Gen Z, kids 18 to 28. I got a couple of those. They're lonely, and they're not having a lot of sex, apparently. You could take that as good or bad, but the world is changing because they're going to be the money-making adults soon. You know who's speaking out against this, who's had to change their business model? Tinder. You can imagine how they're affected by this. We'll talk about that as well. But in the meantime, thanks for finding me. My God, short work weeks are awesome. It's Friday, Junior already. It's Thursday. Welcome to it. Almost into the weekend. Thanks for finding the Wicked Radio live stream, Wicked Wisdom with Bill Adams. All of this stuff everywhere on the social media platforms. And don't forget about the audio podcast, too. Posted at about 9 a.m. when we get off the live stream here. And thanks for the follows and likes and shares and all that good stuff. So if you're watching on X, don't forget when we're done, press follow. Appreciate you. You got a friend forever if you do that. All right, let's get to it. Now, a lot of people are freaking out about this. Here's the first piece of news. It's not going to be all budget talk, I promise you. I wouldn't do that to you. But here it was. This was fully expected, by the way, okay, from Elon Musk. Perhaps you've heard of him. Yesterday afternoon, as my scheduled time as a special government employee comes to an end, I would like to thank President Trump for the opportunity to reduce wasteful spending. And goes on about that and then that. A lot of freakouts about this, and I know a lot of people took this to mean, mainly because this is how it was reported, and the lying mainstream media told you this. Elon is disgusted with Trump. The rift is real. Oh, and then he had all the Democrats say, thank goodness he's finally gone. We did it, people. We fired him. No, it's not exactly the case. Because if you remember, let's get a little refresher here. I had to do it too. He was never supposed to be there permanently as a special advisor. And by the way, with all the work he put in, let's see, sacrificed his personal reputation, put his personal life at risk, had to add security. His companies suffered. He was sleeping on the floor, apparently, of the Treasury office. We all heard about that story. Let's see, what else happened? Put personally millions of dollars into this, and yet didn't make a dime. Why? Why was he all of a sudden an enemy of the left? Because he dared to work with the president and to cut spending and waste and discover all this stuff. That after all that sacrifice. Well, it was never supposed to be permanent because, as you know, he has a couple of companies to run and he's trying to get humanity into Mars. Another SpaceX rocket launched the other day, but he's walking away from that rule. So this on top of all the news that apparently none of the DOGE cuts are in this budget bill and this and that, it worked everybody up yesterday, including me. Here's the takeaway. This is what I mean by your voices actually do matter. Because this thing was everywhere yesterday. Now, I don't know if all of these cuts that we all want is going to be in the one big, beautiful bill, as Trump loves to call it. I don't know. But they're aware of it. And now, not only are these elected officials aware of it, people are aware of what can be done. Us, normal folks, we the people, about what kind of impact you can actually have. Okay? So on top of, this leads us into Stephen Miller. On top of the Elon announcement that, as scheduled, he was going to be walking away from DOGE to do some other stuff, the work goes on, according to Stephen Miller, very important person, officially deputy chief of staff, I think, but very influential and very smart, a patriotic guy in the Trump administration. So he responds to Elon by saying the work of DOGE has done to what they've done to eliminate government waste is among the most valuable services ever rendered to government. But here's the important part. The work has only just begun. Dun, dun, dun. Now, that led a lot of people to say, maybe they are going to go back to the House with this bill and put the DOGE cuts we all want in there. Well, maybe. Now, let's go to this and follow up with that. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, MTG. Now, you may think she's a little kooky, and she is. I get it. Don't agree with everything she does or says. But you got to give her credit on one thing. She's a fighter. There's no doubt about that. She doesn't really care. If she believes in something, she doesn't care what people think of her. She reports yesterday, I was just told that we are going to see the first DOGE cuts bill on Monday. This would be going back to the House. Foreign aid, NPR, CPB on the chopping block. I've not seen the bill yet, but I'm just passing on what they told me. I want to pass every DOGE cut. Well, really? So follow this up again with something else. Another report that was widely reported yesterday. Trump White House to send several DOGE cuts requests to House GOP next week. Now, why does this happen? This happens because there were a lot of people in an uproar yesterday. I mean, it was everywhere, people talking about this. And the number one trending topic on all social media, most importantly X, where it got to the attention of the president and some very influential people. And that guy, Stephen Miller, advisor to the president, I just mentioned there, I've never seen that guy out in public doing media appearances or writing like we just heard so much in my life. In fact, he was on Hannity last night. Now, of course, he was talking about the benefits of the big, beautiful bill and what's actually in it. This is what he said to Hannity last night.
Never, Sean, has a single piece of legislation had so many conservative, pro-American priorities all in one bill. You and I rattled so many of them off. This is the biggest, most significant, substantial reform to America's welfare programs we've ever seen. This is the largest tax cut and reform in American history, including, as you mentioned, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff in there, absolutely. And he was there. That was his job last night, is to promote exactly what's in it already that people seem to be forgetting about, because nobody wants Elon's work to go to waste. Nobody does, right? But at least they're hearing it. Now, does this mean all of those DOGE cuts are saved? Will the work go on for naught? No. But the takeaway, this is what you got to remember. We're all aware of what can be done, right? If you actually work towards it. I know this is one golden opportunity, but we're also aware that they hear us. They 100% do, because we're the voice now. We've got social media. We've got public pressure. You can actually do it. So remains to be seen. I don't know what the final tally is going to be on this thing or what it finally looks like, but got a much better chance than yesterday because of public pressure. That's the main takeaway. Don't ever think your voice isn't heard if it's organic enough and strong enough. So that was good. Here's another example of that. Turns out you can taste the rainbow without poison in it. Big announcement from Maha. This actually was another example of public pressure, really. It came from so there's that whole healthy food community that really, really has been pushing RFK Jr., Make America Healthy Again, that whole crowd to the forefront, and now actually has him in such a prominent position to get things done. Like this announcement, taking the poison, and I mean poison, out of Skittles. Now, I get it. If you are a healthy eating person anyway, you probably weren't eating Skittles, and it still exists, and in Europe it's been banned already, but it's a major, major step to get this done. It's called titanium dioxide. Sounds delicious. A whitening agent. It's been banned in Europe since 2022. Like, you can't get it. Yet we were like stuffing this into kids left and right. Potentially causes DNA damage, they've proven. Well, now it's gone. Over 4,300 food products in the U.S. still have it. But this is a big first step. I mean, Skittles are everywhere, right? This is what I mean about the FDA. To this day, still, they say it's fine. Europe says it's genotoxic. The HHS, RFK Jr., has flagged it as a health risk. And now, this was the big win, Mars Wrigley quietly removed it. Not so quietly, really, because it's a big news story, but also that's a massive effort and good for them to finally bend to public pressure to get this done. So, among the food people, there's a whole, and God love them, there's this whole culture of healthy food people that have been pushing for this for years. Here's one of those people. Her name is, I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly, Van Hari, V-A-N. Her last name is H-A-R-I. She's kind of marketed as, she's got a bunch of books out, bestsellers, and she's a public speaker. The Food Babe. She's been pushing for this. When she heard about this, she was on a plane and actually talked to her massive amount of followers about it, and she's happy about it. And one small example of what can be done.
But I just heard some amazing breaking news. Titanium dioxide is getting removed from Skittles. So this is one less toxin in the taste of rainbows. It is incredible to see us fighting against these chemicals that don't belong in our food. This has been banned in Europe because
It's been, she went on to tell the story exactly what I just said. Yes, and she's all happy about it, and the food people are all happy about it. And this is not something that doesn't need legislation. You didn't have to enact a bill to ban it. You didn't have to, get anything passed. You didn't have to politic. You just put enough public pressure on to get this thing out of there. And good for Mars Wrigley, the massive company, to get it out of there. Should they have done it years ago? Should they have never pushed this on this or any of their other products? And does it still exist? Yes. But it's a start. Chipping away at the stone little by little by little. And I'm as guilty as anybody else about eating this crap. The amount of this stuff that's probably still in my cells from, being a kid eating this garbage on, it's probably a lot of us. So I'm like everybody else. Here's what it's really done, besides the public pressure getting it done, much like DOGE. It's gotten us all to think about what we put in our bodies. Now, again, it's true. It's like if you were a healthy eating person anyway, does this affect you? Have you been eating Skittles? No, of course not. But a lot of people are that don't think about this at all. Kids, right? You think of a kid, how many, good God, I've handed them out too. Halloween, little packs of family-friendly packs of Skittles. I've done it too. So what we're really doing is ingesting and handing out and accepting and just looking the other way about poison and all stuff in a small, small way, but an impactful way. This makes us all think about what we're putting into our bodies. This is another massive change that's happened. It probably, honestly, here's the sobering part of it. In our lifetime, are we going to get all of this stuff, all of the toxins out of the food? No. Now, let's be realistic about it. Is it, this is another dark thought. Is this stuff in like somebody like me, somebody of middle age who's consumed this kind of crap in their earlier years? Is this still in my cells? Yes, probably. It might lead to some cancer-causing agent. It's just what it is. But the fact of the matter is, you can make the public aware of this kind of stuff, and we can all become aware of what we're putting into our bodies. Now, you, me, and everybody else that would actually think about this stuff and try to make an empowering change, that's a little bit different than what else is out there. 80-90% of the public doesn't think about anything they eat. Nothing, just consuming. And this kind of ties back into taking the crap out of food stamps and public welfare assistance with the kind of food you can buy. You're taking the crap out of that. Whether they like it or not, they're going to be helped by this. And I know what you're saying, and I get it. I don't want big daddy government and, stepping in and deciding what I can eat and what I can't eat. But what if you didn't know? This is where I draw the line. I'm okay with public pressure and government stepping in when people weren't aware of this. Had I ever heard before Bobby Kennedy Jr. was involved in this whole process of titanium dioxide? Nope, had no idea. I had heard generally about the news story because I remember talking about it during radio days that Europe had banned Skittles, and it was kind of funny. We were making fun of it. Did I think twice about why that was actually happening? No, I did not. But I will tell you something else. I'm aware of all this stuff now. Maybe you're the same and maybe not, but I'm a hell of a lot more aware of ingredients, anything that's going in. And I'm not there yet, but I'm trying to be cleaner, trying to eat cleaner, because we're killing ourselves with food. So here's the takeaway. You absolutely, despite the uphill battle with the food industry, you absolutely can eat healthier. It can be done. Here's living proof of that with this stuff going away. Now this is a company stepping in and taking it away for you because of public pressure, but should it get to that? No, it shouldn't get to that. We should all do our best to eliminate this stuff. Now, we have to live in the real world, and we're surrounded by this crap anyway, toxins, but just try to eliminate it and cut it out the best you can. It's not impossible. Seems like we could be doing it. So good for you. That's one small step. One small step for Skittles, one giant step for health-rated kids. I can imagine how much titanium dioxide is still in my system that I'll never get out from eating junk food, but at least we're aware of it now. It's the first step to cutting this crap out. All right, this is the real story I wanted to get to today because I'm fascinated by it. This is the sociologist in me. This goes back to my sociology classes at USF. I love this kind of stuff. I love looking at society, how generations change, how different things are happening, and how companies respond to these kinds of things. Now, this is a new article from Tinder. That's right, the dating app. No, I'm not on it. I don't know much about it. I'm just putting that out there, happily married. But the CEO of Tinder has had to go on a public information campaign because they're going to have to change their business model. I think this is amazing. Now, why is this? He says, the CEO of Tinder, in a bunch of interviews he's doing, we're changing the way that we do things because Gen Z doesn't have much sex. How about that for a change? Like we all grow up thinking that the next generation of kids after us were just lunatics, right? Not so much. Let's look at the factors among this. First of all, what's Gen Z? Kids 18 to 28. I got a couple of those. Maybe you do too. Anyway, he says the hookup reputation is way different in how they approach things. But he also gets into another aspect of this, and maybe the pandemic was a factor of it. Mostly the biggest factor, though, is this right here. The phones. We all know. I mean, I'm on my phone a lot too, but not as bad as my kids, or probably your kids or kids you see everyday life. That's affecting everything and how they do it, but they have different attitudes as well. So here's the CEO. Listen to what he says about this. A little long, but it's important. The CEO, Spencer Raskoff of Tinder. Boy, you think they were in a panic when they discovered this? Going to have to change their business model?
This is a generation that experiences a loneliness epidemic. They've been online for the last couple of years. Even when they're not online, they're still online because they're looking at their phones constantly.
Sure.
And so this is a generation that needs IRL, in real life connections. And companies like Tinder can help provide that if we provide them with the types of products that they're looking for. Looking at a photo and judging it, that is cringy for a lot of Gen Z people. Like it makes them feel bad about themselves to look at a photo and say thumbs up, thumbs down.
There's a lot to unpack here. It's very interesting. I don't know exactly how that changes their business model because outside of Gen Z, I'm sure there's a massive amount of people on Tinder that are older than that are, and the population is aging as we go. So they still have to satisfy those people's interests. But I don't know how exactly they're going to do it with the Gen Z people because they still want to stay in business and people still want to hook up, apparently. They just do it in a different way. What he got to there, though, that was fascinating to me, what he said about the most important part, is that Gen Z, these 18 to 28 people, are very lonely. First of all, think about it. Doesn't that make sense that they are? It just seems like they would be in a disconnected kind of way. So I can't help but think this. Somebody, maybe just people in that generation are going to be absolute rock stars if they know how to break through that. They'll be in that generation, but they know how to connect with other people in their generation. Like he said, they're IRL, in real life, and to break down that barrier. I think the kids who understand those social skills and those communication skills for their generation, they're going to be unstoppable. They really are. I mean it, and I know I've said this in the past. I think throughout all of that, it's never been more important to have these communication skills, ever. I think it's the most important skill of all time. So if people are more isolated now, and the end result of that, as he said there, is they're having less hookups. But the people that can actually connect in that age group with their other people, not just online, just like IRL in real life, like he said, they're going to be unstoppable. They're going to run the world. So if you're like me and you have kids in that generation, encourage those interpersonal skills as much as you possibly can. And if you're hearing me and you're in that generation, work on them. Figure it out. We're old, but figure out what works with your generation, what connects with them. Because that's the most important thing you can ever discover. Those are the absolute superstars of the future. It's all going to be about communication and the present. So, wow. But public pressure works. That's the first takeaway. May not result in all the DOGE cuts, but public pressure worked with this Skittles story. We know that. It actually works. We'll see what goes on from here. I don't know. I know from here, we're going to put together the audio podcast, usually about 9 a.m. if you're watching and listening in real time. That's usually when that's posted, wherever you like to get your podcast. Thanks so much for that. If you're watching on X, make sure you press the follow button. Thank you so much. And Wicked Wisdom on all of the social media platforms. Thanks for finding the live stream. Hey, tomorrow, believe it or not, it's Friday already. Love short work weeks. Who knows what's going to be in the news? But we're going to take it, reframe it, and empower ourselves with it. And I appreciate you so much for being with me. I'll talk to you later.